Godzilla is now in New York City.
Monster 01 and 02, commence the attack.
Hello everyone and welcome to Stomp This Way. So we kind of flip-flop back and forth on the schedule this week. I think I still, as of this recording, have it changed to say we're supposed to review the Monster Hunter this week. But we actually changed our minds again, and we're still review the Monolith Monsters. And then we'll review Monster Hunter next week.
And then you'll get 2 Gamera films in a row.
And then 2 Gamera films in a row, which...
In a row?
You know, the... Row. The OCD in me is, like, cringing hard, but it'll be okay.
Oh, no.
I know. Shut up, you're OCD, too.
This is true.
But anyway, what did I say we're reviewing? The Monolith Monsters.
Stuff.
Is it a monster movie? First question I'll pose.
No.
Not really.
It's not even a...
It's barely a sci-fi movie.
It's not even a creature. It's not a creature feature. It's not a... I don't know.
Well, we watched it, and we got to review it.
A horror movie?
It's a 50s drive-in movie, I think is the best way to describe it.
It's the release that we watched is put out by Shout Factory's division Scream Factory, which is their...
horror division?
Predominantly horror division.
I'm pretty sure that, what was it we watched the other day? The Gila Monster. I'm pretty sure that was Scream Factory.
Your Omen collection is Scream Factory as well.
Well, yeah, but that makes sense. It's the Omen.
And my entire Friday the 13th collection is also a Scream Factory release.
You could say half of those are horror movies. Maybe. Anyway, some quick trivia. Most of the exterior shots were filmed in the Alabama Hills in Lone Pine, California.
Lone Pine. Where
a lot of famous movies were filmed. I saw, like, the Gladiator and the last... What's that movie? The Last Stand in the West or whatever. I just blanked on the title. I don't know, whatever. Anyway, some famous movies were filmed there. Most shots of San Angelo were filmed in Universal's backlot. The meteor crash at the beginning that we complimented is actually taken from alternate takes of effect sequences from It Came from Outer Space.
Which we've watched, correct?
Did we? Mm-mm. I don't think so.
I thought we watched that the other day.
We watched 20 Million Miles to Earth the other day.
It all blends together.
It does. We will watch It Came from Outer Space eventually, but yes. And according to IMDb... I don't know if this has been fact-checked properly, but this is the only monster to be a purely chemical process.
Monster?
Object? Giant object? Anyway, no box office information. It was released on December 18th, 1957. So, there you
go. Christmas.
We're gonna...
That's Friday. It's tomorrow. December 18th.
Oh my gosh,
is tomorrow.
That's
tomorrow.
The 63rd anniversary.
What?
63rd anniversary.
Tomorrow.
So happy birthday, the Monolith Monsters. Anyway, yeah, we're going to listen to a trailer. We're going to come back and we're going to get this over with.
Sure.
See you in a bit.
Chief, you gotta believe me. You're gonna think I'm blind.
Rocks, Joe? Towers of rock crashing down and then growing up again?
Yeah.
Perhaps a part of the process is the absorption of silica, taking it right out of whatever it comes into contact with, like...
Human beings?
Just like Ben, their bodies are turned to stone.
What was this amazing power that could turn people into stone? That could suddenly turn inanimate rocks, stones, monoliths, into growing, spreading, expanding monsters, threatening to engulf whole towns and cities, to bury all civilization under an immensity of weight beyond all calculation.
The natural slope of the valley floor is bringing them right down here.
And once they break through to the other side of the mountains, there'll be no stopping them ever.
Look, all we're asking you to do is save her life.
I can't cope with something I don't even understand.
Ready. Hit it now!
All right, we're back. This film is directed by John Sherwood, written by Norman Jolly, Robert M. Fresco, and Jack Arnold. Music by, I think this is all stock music because these were all uncredited, but the music was at some point created by these three fellows: Henry Mancini, Irving Gertz, and Herman Stein. Effects were by Clifford Stein.
Different Steins.
Different Steins,
Still
spelled
differently.
different. E's in different places. Anyway, starring Grant Williams, Lola Albright, Les Tremayne, Trevor Bardette, Phil Harvey, William Flaherty, Henry Jackson, Richard H. Cutting, and Linda Sheely. Yes.
Yeah.
What's the plot?
After a meteorite crashes to Earth, the residents of the small town of San Angelo, California, begin discovering strange rocks scattered around the desert. When these rocks come into contact with water, they start to rapidly expand and drain whatever they come into contact with of its silicon, including humans. As residents start mysteriously dying, geologist Dave Miller begins investigating. Eventually, he discovers that salt prevents the rocks from growing, but the rocks are quickly descending upon the town after the previous night's downpour. In a rush to stop the rocks, Dave and the town people dump a large amount of salt at the base of a local dam, and then blow the dam so the water mixes with the salt and washes over the alien invaders? Quote unquote. Their plan is successful, and the spreading of the monoliths is stopped in its tracks. The townspeople celebrate as credits roll.
Ooh, yay. All right, so, I don't think any of us really knew what to expect when putting this movie in. I had seen a brief trailer for it when I stumbled across it on Amazon. Across it on Amazon. But it's, it's your pretty typical 50s sci-fi B-movie affair.
Sci-fi? It's not really...
It is sci-fi, I guess.
It's sci-fi-ish.
It's not really monster creature feature, though.
It's not. Really. It's not. Why is this called the Monolith Monsters?
Because they're...
monstrous.
Monstrous, yes.
Isn't that the point of aren't monoliths large?
Well, monoliths don't have to be large.
They can be any size.
Monoliths can be any size. I learned this from 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Okay.
I'll say this. It's very hard to make a movie about slow-growing rocks exciting. And this movie is not very. That being said, it is not the worst movie we've watched by any stretch. I think it's
one of the better movies we've watched recently.
Well, I wouldn't go that. It's better than the Monolith.
It's much better than the Gila Monster.
The Gila Monster.
Yeah. Much better than the Gila Monster.
Much better than the Gila Monster.
If someone sat me down and said, you got to watch one of these movies for the rest of your life, I won't pick this one.
You're going to pick that one? Yeah. There's just some things I enjoy. I mean, there's some...
The characters aren't horrible.
The characters are fine. There's some unintentionally funny lines that I appreciate, such as at one point the main female walks in and she's like, the doctor says she has 8 hours. Maybe. And then like the geology professor's like, and maybe not? I'm like, well, I think that's implied. What was the other one? Oh, he said something about
could be 3 hours or 3 minutes.
3 minutes. Yeah, there was another line. He said it's smashed but intact. I'm like, those are mutually exclusive terms. Like they're contradictory to each other. You can't be both smashed and intact, can you?
Apparently you can.
I guess it can.
Theoretically.
Theoretically speaking.
He didn't say how is it intact.
Yeah.
I mean, I know what he meant. Like, it wasn't, like, scattered all over the place. But it was just kind of funny.
Mm-hmm.
Better than that, I mean, it's fine.
It's not bad.
It's only 77 minutes, so, you know.
It's okay.
Yeah.
At least the characters are somewhat entertaining to follow.
I guess. Like, we like to make fun of some of them.
I think that's our thing with a lot of these cheesy B movies, sci-fi B movies from the 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
They're just, it's a different time period that we didn't grow up in.
Yeah.
And looking back on it now, it's just, everything's just so cheesy.
Yeah, like, well, yeah, it is interesting, like, that
the acting style is completely different.
That acting style, but also, like
that.
The time period, just like the printing press. I was like, that poor man has to sit there and turn that wheel a lot.
A lot?
And then the paper boy, I was like, does that one paper boy deliver to the whole town? Isn't there child labor laws in effect? But I guess not.
Not that are that drastic, I guess.
I guess not.
That matters.
How much do these people get paid?
How much do you get paid just to turn a wheel?
Well, he owns it. He owns the newspaper.
No. He had a guy to turn the printing press.
He did.
He just had a guy turning the printing press.
That guy must be really fit.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. And then,
good for them.
Yeah, and then like, you know, at one point the power got knocked out, but I kind of feel like we forget about that by the end of the movie, because they're like, I mean, the printing press, I guess it was manual because he was turning the wheel, but like everyone's like using like phones and stuff by the end of the movie, weren't they? I mean,
he was using the radio.
No, he was using the radio, and I guess the guy with the phone was in a different town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So not really.
I guess. I don't know. Maybe they didn't forget about it. But I love the fact that these quote unquote scientists are like not
very bright.
Not very bright. Like it took them forever. Okay, so they're in a desert and they're trying to figure out what is the catalyst to make these rocks start growing, and they're sitting in their lab like for hours, like trying to
determine.
I don't know what they're doing to these things, but
what could Ben? There's a guy named Ben. He's the person who discovers the rock at the beginning of the film, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, he dies.
Yeah.
And we're sitting here, and they're like, okay. And this little girl that they've taken to the hospital, she is dying because she touched one of these rocks and got it wet. Anyway, so these scientists are sitting here, they're like, what experiment could Ben have done in the lab that a young girl could do at home by herself? And they're like, what would a little girl do with a rock souvenir that she took home from the desert? I'm not sure.
Sure.
And then he pours coffee
down the drain.
Well,
he was hammering it,
chiseling at it, and it flings off into the sink. And then Dave pours coffee on it, and he's sitting there, and then he looks down after he gets his pitcher with water, and he's getting ready to make more coffee, and sitting here, and the rock starts growing. They're like, but what did you do?
Like,
what could we have done? He's like, all you did was pour the coffee into the sink, and he's like, and coffee is nothing but flavored water.
And he's like, we got to make sure. So he turns the sink back on. Now, and I'm like, what kind of experiments have they been running that did not involve putting some kind of water on these rocks all night? I mean,
and they tried setting it on fire. They tried electrocuting it.
Like, they didn't try just like, you know, some solutions first before, you know, breaking out the fire and the electricity or something. And then at the end, towards the end of the movie, like the doctor, like there's a girl in town, a young girl, her name's Jenny Simpson, which I kind of found funny. I was like, I wish her first name was Lisa, but whatever. He's got, he figures out some solution to make like her body stop from turning solid. And he tells
makes a bunch of chemicals.
Yeah, he tells the scientists, and they're like, and they're trying all these experiments, and they're like, it's not nothing stopping the rock.
And they're like, well, we haven't fully replicated his formula. We haven't used the saline solution.
I'm like...
And so he takes a beaker full of water and dumps like an entire salt shaker full of salt in it, mix it up, and one scientist pours a little water on it, starts growing, and this other guy takes the salt water and goes, and he goes, and stops.
Well,
he's like, we gotta try it again to make sure.
So they're scientists, and
you're telling me they haven't fully recreated the solution to begin with?
Well, no, it's just the fact that they're scientists, they're geologists, and so they know at this point that water is what makes these rocks grow. And they, as soon as they heard saline solution, it didn't like click in their heads like salt, water, must be the salt. Like it took, I don't know. They're just very incompetent scientists, I think. Anyway, and then they blow up a dam.
Oh yeah.
At the end of the movie, like I guess, because they're like, we don't have time to dump the salt and spread it across the opening of the canyon, so we're gonna dump a bunch of salt at the base of the dam, rig the dam to explode. I'm like, is that really quicker? I don't know, but okay. Whatever you say, I guess.
It is what it is.
But the dam explosion looks
the dam
cool.
explodes.
I wonder if they took like I mean, obviously they have a model set where they like the water washes over the little village or whatever.
This is true. This is true.
But the actual like explosion of the dam looked pretty real. I wonder if they had got like footage of an actual dam being demolished or something.
These are good questions to ask.
But because I know they didn't blow up a real dam for this movie.
No,
they didn't have that kind of budget. But yeah. Anything else to add?
It's a movie.
It is a movie. You ready to move on?
Creature
design. It's giant.
It's a rock.
It's a rock.
Giant black crystalline rocks.
Yeah.
They sort of look like a monolith when they're giant, I guess.
Yeah. I guess.
They finally start to like really grow into these giant monoliths around the 43-minute mark, if you're interested. Which is about halfway through the movie.
If you've seen Superman and the Fortress of Solitude.
Yes.
But black.
A little less perfectly carved, but yes.
But instead of being a translucent crystal, they are a black crystal.
Black crystals, yeah. Yep.
Occasionally, you might get one that looks pretty perfect, almost, Washington Monument-esque, but that's a monolith, so.
Yeah.
Effects. They're fine.
It's a rock!
I mean, the meteorite at the beginning, now we know that that's actually from a different movie. So
it explodes.
It looks
I think
good.
the little model set, I mean, it's small, just a few structures, but that they built to have the water wash over looks fine.
It actually looks pretty decent.
Fine.
I think the matting effects when you have like the towns in the foreground, the town in the foreground, and the monoliths off in the background, it's fine.
They're not bad.
Looks fine.
There's a rear projection too, I think.
Yeah,
it's not bad.
I did make a comment when, like, at first when the rocks start growing, I'm like, it's like those little snakes that you burn at the 4th of July. But
it really does look like that.
I mean, the growing effect is, it's really simple, but it works.
And then toward the end of the film, you start seeing less of them, fizz and grow.
Fizzing. Yeah,
they just kind of and then fall over it. And fall over.
Yeah. I will say, it is a neat concept that the way that they multiply is that they grow so giant they get top heavy and then they fall over, shatter and those
more
form. I mean, that's a nice little concept they came up with there. So.
They're trying to invade. And take over.
It's like an invading species.
Yeah.
Of some kind of
rock.
Of rock.
Of rock. Is that just too bold? It's a rock.
Oh my goodness.
It's a rock.
Score. I think the score is primarily stock music from other films.
But I like it.
But it's very dramatic. They hit those high notes. And it works, yeah.
But it's pretty generic, though.
It's kind of generic, but it works.
Pioneers is babies for miles.
This is not a SpongeBob podcast yet. Although we could review the Alaskan bullworm episode.
Oh, God.
Hey, the SpongeBob movie technically has giant
monsters. It does have giant monsters in it.
Humans?
It has...
Oh.
No,
it has giant monsters. The giant monsters. Before, they do the... Now that we're main sequence. Yeah, and then there's giant monsters.
And then there's the Cyclops.
Which is a human, yeah. We got the Hasselhoff.
Hasselhoff. The Hasselhoff.
We start running out of content.
We're gonna do it, boys. Oh my goodness. Anyway, final thoughts on this movie in particular. Andrew, would you like to start?
Well,
it's a rock.
It's a rock. Well, it is a rock. It's a monolith rock monster.
Sure.
Is it a rock of a movie? Is it a rock solid movie? Or does it sink like a rock? How many puns do you need? No, Dylan, get back. Sit down.
I gotta go.
It's an alright movie. It's not the worst movie I've ever saw in my life. It's better than the
worst movie you've ever seen. In your
yeah,
life.
gosh, we use proper English here.
We are Americans.
Americans use proper English.
No. Anyway, continue.
It's not the worst movie. It's better than the last one we watched.
It's better than the Gila Monster, or it's better than Gamma vs. Giron?
Both. No,
it's not.
It's
you
not.
take them words back, mister.
It's better than the giant Gila Monster.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things better than that.
Yeah, there is.
Game Race actually was a pretty good one.
Okay.
It was alright.
We can agree on that. Dylan's a little iffy on that, but okay.
That one was okay.
But the score is fine. The rocks look cool enough. The storyline's not the worst. It actually has a decent one. Okay.
It's passable.
It has one.
Passable drive-in entertainment.
Yeah. The score, I think I'm gonna give this movie a C-.
A C-. Dylan, do you agree?
It's a film.
Is it?
I've seen worse.
Yeah.
I have seen much worse.
Mostly on this podcast.
Mostly on this podcast. Yeah. Watched a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
You know, the characters are somewhat likable to a degree. They have some funny line deliveries. I guess probably just because of the time.
Yeah.
And the writing itself. The story is clever at times.
Yeah.
It's not horrible. But it is a movie about giant rocks.
Yeah.
And that's not the most interesting concept in the world.
No.
But it's okay. The rock looks like a rock. This is a giant black crystalline structure. The effects are actually pretty decent.
Yeah, passable. Perfectly passable.
The model work is pretty decent. I mean, I assume this didn't have a great budget, so for what it is, it's not bad.
Yeah.
I think the biggest help about this movie is that it's only 77 minutes long, which if any longer, probably would have shot myself.
Hey, short and relatively painless.
And the score is pretty generic, but I kind of dig the generic sci-fi score with the loud type stuff. Yeah, it's not bad. I guess a C.
A C. Okay, that's not bad. Yeah, I agree with you guys. I mean, again, like I said at the beginning, a movie about giant growing rocks is about as exciting as it sounds. I mean, but being that is your concept, I think they do the best that they can with it. Like I said, some of the unintentionally funny stuff is pretty good. I think that they did a decent job of establishing characters for a 50s sci-fi B movie. Some of the concepts, like the way, like I said, the rocks multiply is not bad. And then I like how they set up, that the water makes them spread, and then there's this giant thunderstorm outside, and you're like, uh-oh, that's not good. I did have a question as to how no one heard this meteorite crash into the desert, but that's whatever, Yeah, it's just pretty typical 50s sci-fi B-movie drive-in entertainment, but it's, like we said, it's definitely not the worst kind of entertainment of that variety that we've seen. It's a big step ahead of the giant Gila monster. I think I'm with Andrew. I think I'm going to give it a C-. It's watchable. If you like this kind of stuff, you can get the Shout Factory Blu-ray and watch it if you haven't already. It's not the worst 77 minutes you can spend in your life, so there's that. But I think that's all we got concerning the movie this week. Not really major news. I did see where Free Guy's release date was moved to May 21st, which is the same day that Godzilla vs. Kong is being released. For now. But since Kong is getting a simultaneous release, I guess it really doesn't matter. So
maybe. There's a lot of backlash coming Warner Brothers' way over this from everybody.
Well, I think they're really concerned with Legendary. Now, I will say this, though.
Legendary has grounds for lawsuit. The Directors Guild has grounds for lawsuit. The Creative Artist Agency has grounds for lawsuit.
Well, I hate to tell those people, but this is my opinion. I think Disney Plus and I think Disney and Warner Media, they are where it's they're in the right mindset. They see the future. Everybody else is living in the past, unfortunately. So, yeah.
But you don't do it without telling the people that you're working with.
They did it. I read they did it because they didn't want it to leak, which is a kind of a poor excuse, I guess. I mean, you couldn't just call the Legendary CEO and be like, "Hey, we're going to do this."
You couldn't have called all the directors of those 17 movies and be like, "Hey, guys, I know you don't want this, but we're going to give you some sort of compensation for the fact that your movie's not being released solely in theaters."
Well, I understand why Legendary would be mad because their profits are solely based on the profits of the movie. I mean, the directors are getting paid either way. I mean, I know
most people's contracts. You got to think though, like these directors, a lot of their contracts, they're taking
a percentage of the
very
movie.
Small salaries so they can get to make these small salaries by like our standpoint. I mean, they may be making $2 to $3 million, $5 million to make this film, so they can actually because they'll be like, all right, I'll take a smaller salary, so you will put up the money for this, right?
I feel like
then I will, if it does well, then I can take X percent. Yeah. That way I can, kind of make some return on investment. Because there's a lot of directors that are putting some of their own money forward.
I feel like big name directors do that. I feel like most of these smaller directors, first time directors, are just paid up front, a flat rate up front.
Patty Jenkins has done that.
She did. I mean.
Christopher Nolan writes in his contracts. He has.
That's what I'm saying. The bigger name directors, but
I mean, small name directors. I mean, you got to look at something like what? Who was it? Like Wes Craven sold the rights to his creative rights to his film for A Nightmare on Elm Street because he didn't think it would make money. So he's like, you know what? If it doesn't make money, then you have the rights. If it does, then so be it.
It didn't work out for him, did it?
It did not work out for him. His movie got franchised till it was beat dead.
He did basically the opposite of George Lucas. Is like, well, you can just give the rights to me if it flops.
I'll keep the rights if it flops. It's whatever.
Whatever, And Fox was like, God damn it. Who authorized this? But anyway,
I think directors are and actors even they get portions of a lot of people are starting to write portions of a certain percent of a movie's theatrical gross into, and then the movies themselves, the movie industry, the actual studios themselves are hurting themselves because then you're automatically licensing it to yourself.
Yeah.
So then you don't have the opportunity to make more money by tossing out there, like say maybe Netflix wants to pick it up, or maybe TBS or FX wants to be like, you know what, we want to play this on our cable channel or something like that.
Yeah, but
you just screwed yourself over.
If there aren't any theaters open, then you're just gonna lose money by trying to.
There's not gonna be any theaters open if you don't release movies either, so it really doesn't matter either way. Well, someone's got to give.
I'm just saying, theaters are done. It's over.
Theaters are dying. That's for sure.
It's rotted out. It's done.
At least big theater chains are for sure gonna.
Yeah, I mean there will always be like specialty theater chains that show movies here and there, but I mean we're not gonna have a street. Like I said, we're never gonna go back to the days of having a theater on every street corner. It's just not gonna happen. But anyway, let's get off that subject. Do you want to hear Aaron's rant on the public university system for this week? I just gotta tell you guys, I about got effed in the A by the university. Now I will say 50% my fault. 50% my fault. But, yeah, I got an F in a class. I think I've worked it out where they're going to give me a D so that I can graduate. But Aaron has never been so angry in his life.
Happens.
It's been a rough week, guys. So thank you guys for joining me for this episode and letting me take that off my list of worries this week. But anyway, like we discussed at the beginning, I guess next week we are going to trudge out to our local theater while it's still open, and we're going to watch Monster Hunter. And then we'll have that review out for you guys next Tuesday. Not particularly looking forward to that. And then we will watch 2 Gamma movies in a row. So we'll watch Gamma versus Jiger, and then Gamma versus Zigra. Yes, Gamma versus Zigra, back-to-back weeks, and then we'll get kind of back on our normal routine after that. So I think that's all I got. Anything else to add, guys?
We have a YouTube channel.
We do. I'll get to editing that video eventually.
We have a YouTube channel.
We need to record our Christmas episode pretty soon.
We do. We also need to record an episode over Dunkirk.
Yes, this is true.
Lack of recording space.
Lack of recording space is really putting a damper on things.
Yes. But if you are interested in checking that out, it's DNA Film Reviews on YouTube. So, keep a lookout for that. We got things planned.
We do.
I don't know if we're going to review Wonder Woman or not.
We'll try.
We might.
We might. Other than that, if you want to contact us concerning this podcast, you can contact us at stompthisway1954@gmail.com.
This is true. We're also up on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. If you want to follow us on our social medias, do that. Like or follow. Be sure to tell your friends about us.
Yeah. Andrew, do we have a website still?
Well, I hope so.
Where is it at?
It's at www.stompthisway.podbean.com.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I got an email from some marketer that was like, there are problems with your website, but if you let my team help you, we can fix it with a few simple steps or something. I was like, no. Oh, I was telling Dylan, guys, about our email we got from Podbean that told us that we were the second most listened film review podcast in Macau, which is some independent state in China, apparently. I was like, well, that's nice. Bots.
Good for you guys, Macau. Thank you, Macau.
Thank you, bots in Macau.
They're not all bots, probably.
Yeah. So that was interesting. I was not expecting that email. Other than that, I think that's it. As always, thank you for listening. I think I'm still Aaron. I mean, it's been a rough week. I'm kind of got confused, but still Aaron.
Still Andrew.
I'm definitely not Dylan.
What did you do with Dylan?
Anyway, I guess we'll catch you next one.